As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be.
Oh man, it's 8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a.
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
RHOBH Bros. Good afternoon, good evening if you're shooter, and welcome to another episode of RHOBH Bros, your favorite podcast from the bros for everybody, for everyone wants to listen. I'm your co-host, Steele Russell, joined from across the pond by jolly old Goots over there. G'day. Oh, fuck, that's Australia.
Yeah, you always do that. And now you just force the issue.
Every time.
It does. It eventually does shift. Look, I mean, none of our fans can claim that we don't love them because I am in the middle of a European vacation. I took some time out to talk to you guys and I guess talk to Steele, but you know, for you guys, for your sake.
Yeah, it's for you. I was actually looking forward to a week without seeing your face.
Right.
So I make sacrifices too. I know you're in England or whatever, and like you're taking away from vacation, but I'm taking away from, you know, me not having to talk to you, which is nice sometimes. But
what about the other times?
I want to talk to you most of the times. Just sometimes I need a break.
Yeah.
You get
like
it.
Last week we needed a break. We did what, 8 episodes in like 4 days.
Yeah, so it was a much needed like 5-day breather of not having to talk to one another.
Yeah.
We still text every day, so it's not the same thing. But
yeah,
like he said, we wanted to make sure that we had enough content for you, so we overloaded last week to get enough out this week. But we want to stay on track as well because we don't want to back up all these shows. Then you're getting a week late drops, whatever. So we wanted to make sure we got at least one out while he's over there. And we figured what better of a franchise to get out to the public than the most recent RHOBH. So we're here to talk a little Beverly Hills whilst Shooter is it. Where are you right now?
I'm in London right now. I just got back from Amsterdam this morning.
What's your address? Tell the people where you're at.
Do you think I know?
That's probably some silly name. Like,
yeah.
I'm not even going to try. Look,
well, it's not as bad. In Amsterdam, it was like I figured out that STRAAT was street, I guess. Street. And then there were other ones that I figured out were like avenue and road, but those names were silly. This is everything in London is just like 387, 215. There's just like numbers. It's not fun.
215 Glockenham Field Road.
You got it.
Yeah,
that's where I was last week. Yep.
Oh, that's not where he is anymore.
Nope.
But yeah, so you watched Beverly Hills. Did you watch it for the podcast, or were you like, you know, I'm going to kick back on vacay and watch Little Housewives?
I probably will end up watching Salt Lake because the people I'm staying with, my girlfriend's friends, are up to date. They watch Hayu over here.
Yeah, that's what the Housewives of London or whatever. That's what it's going to be on. That's why we don't know if we're going to be able to cover it.
Yeah. So was a little concerned that I wouldn't be able to watch it. I would have had to get like some sort of VPN blocker, which I don't know if that's legal. So we might have to. Allegedly, it's not legal. I don't know if that works, but
really? I don't know. Somebody told us to do that so we could watch Hayu and watch the Housewives of London. They're like, all you have to do is get a VPN blocker. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll just hit the dark web.
Yeah, it sounds easy. You got to purchase it. But no, they search it on Amazon Prime and it just shows up. It's just a section of that. So it was actually really easy. And I watched that. Got off the plane this morning, watched a little bit of RHOBH, and eager to talk about it.
Yeah, we're Rob here to talk about it. Nice. And you know what? I don't want to take away from your vacay. I want you to get back to your peeps. So let's jump right into this episode. And it picks up where we left off last week with Kyle and Dorit. And they're still going back and forth, back and forth. The difference between the two arguments that we're getting. And we talked about it last week. Dorit has evidence. She has times that she's pointing to where it's like, this is where you've wronged me. This is where you've wronged me. And she's telling Kyle exactly what her playbook is. She's like, you're okay to make comments to me. You're okay to make comments in confessionals. You're okay to make comments on Amazon Lives. Whatever you want to do, you're allowed to take jabs. If I make any comment about anything, whether it's in jest or not, I'm always held to the fire and always met with an ice out. And that's Kyle's move. We've seen it time and time again. And we've seen it with Sutton before, too. And I'm glad Sutton spoke up eventually in this. And be like, yeah, you know, I've actually been there before with Kyle as well. But Dorit's just calling out the playbook over and over again and saying this has been our entire friendship. She brings up another example of a fashion show. And this is how long Dorit's been sitting on this stuff. The fashion show was years ago. And she's like in a confessional saying, oh, I got to save Kyle's show from her. Is it slightly shady? Yeah. Is it a joke? Yeah. Is it Housewives? Yeah. So what are we doing here? That resulted in a 6-month ban from being friends with Kyle. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. And I love that Kyle's take on this is, oh my God, how long have you been holding on to this? That was years ago. That was years ago. No, Kyle, that's
exactly
just good examples. Those are examples. You made Dorit name them, if you will, if you want to take it from your other co-star on the show. She named them. And it doesn't matter if she has to go back 5, 6, 7 years and she didn't speak up back then because it wasn't piling on. And she even made a comment when Kyle finally breaks down talking about, I lost my best friend 2 years ago, which honestly, I forgot about all of that with everything that's been going on in the show and everything going on in their personal lives. So I am going to give Kyle a little bit of grace there, but we've seen this time and time and time again. And oddly enough, the person that I would have loved to have heard speak up on this would have been Kathy, because it seems like the Richards sisters just do that. They all do that. How often do we hear that Kyle and Kathy aren't talking anymore because Kyle did something to Kathy or said something in the press and Kathy's not talking to Kyle anymore? So where do you think she learned it from? Her sisters. They all do it, and we've seen it happen time and time again. So I'm not surprised by any of this. What I was surprised by was Dorit continues to be succinct. She continues to have examples. She's well spoken in these moments. She has a bit of a breakdown later. She just really doesn't understand what's going on, but I think she's just rattled. I'm going to give her a pass on that. But here, she continues to do the same thing that she's been doing this whole season, which is coming there, holding Kyle's feet to the fire, telling her exactly what's wrong, not being super long-winded, as we've seen Dorit do over and over and over again. She is telling Kyle exactly what the problem was. And Kyle doesn't seem to have an answer to any of this. And again, like you just said, I'm happy that Sutton stepped in because at least we have somebody to corroborate that feeling. And you need something like that because otherwise Kyle's just going to write it off, make excuses and say, well, that's how you feel. That's not how anybody else feels. But we have Sutton stepping in saying, hey, no, that happened to me and it happens all the time. So I know exactly what she's talking about and it sucks.
Yeah. And having Kyle confirm it, because Sutton's like, that's what you do. You punish people. She goes, I do. I'm a punisher. It's like, so you're aware of this behavior. You're aware of
But she didn't admit it to Dorit, which was
no, she admitted it to Sutton.
Yep.
Yeah, which is really frustrating. But what's even more frustrating, and Dorit highlights it, she's like, anytime that we do this, anytime I call you out or anytime, what your defense to me is that you were mad. And she's like, well, yeah, I was. And you can see in that moment, I think she's like the walls breaking down a little bit. And that's Kyle's way of almost acknowledging, not fault, but being like, yeah, I do know that I do stuff like that. And it took Sutton pointing it out for her to kind of see through it for a second. But then you get half-assed apologies back and forth. Kyle's like, you know what? I'm sorry if this and blah, blah, blah. And Dorit does pretty much the same thing. It's like, you know, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. And Kyle's like, that's what you always do. And you just cheapened your apology. You can't just say sorry. It's like, neither can you, though. Like, are you not seeing the same behavior mirrored back at you? Because we see this time and time again. Or there's an apology. You guys smooth things over, but we see it come back up 6 months to a year later, because in the past, what we've seen is Dorit give in. She doesn't want to be at odds with Kyle anymore. She wants to move on. She wants to be friends again. She misses her friendship and doesn't want to be in that place. So she bends the knee and says sorry and just eats shit. She's not doing that anymore. She's standing up for herself. She's doing it well. Like you said, she's very succinct. This is not a Dorit we're used to seeing. She has yet to go and ramble on into a word salad. Everything she's saying is landing. It's catching Kyle off guard. So Kyle's getting pissed off and she's defensive, as she said to Sutton. That's what happens. I get defensive. That's my go-to. I ice out. So you're acknowledging all of these things. You get an apology. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. Again, you want apologies for stuff that Dorit's not necessarily sorry about. You got your feelings hurt because she made a joke at BravoCon. We've all seen the footage. That's not a reason to stay mad at somebody for that long. It's not a reason to keep going back to and harping on. So at the very least, you got an I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. That's about the best you're going to get here, because none of us think this warrants an apology just because you got your feelings hurt. And we would, in different light, say, okay, you do deserve an apology if you don't treat people the same way and say whatever the hell you want in confessionals. Go on Amazon Live and disparage your friendship with this woman who you've known and been friends with for such a long time. Now we're not sitting here judging what apology you're getting. Now we're sitting here going, okay, these guys can squash it. But you continue to do the same shit over and over again, then ice people out, and then they put their foot down because they're finished with it. And now you take an issue and put it all back on them. And the worst thing that could have happened here is having Garcelle come out of left field and corroborate and be like, that is what you do, Dorit. It's like, look, I understand that the microaggressions from last year and that whole scene rubbed Garcelle the wrong way. Understandably so. She had every right to get upset, every right to not like Dorit anymore. You don't have to get along with her, but this seems like a Hail Mary from the backfields to try to get into this fight, to try to either stay relevant, just throw Dorit under the bus, just take advantage of Kyle going after her, or to show Kyle like, hey, I'm on your team. I don't understand the move from Garcelle. She's yet to get involved this season in any way, shape, or form other than to jump on the let's fuck with Dorit bandwagon. Again, I know you don't like her. You don't have to like her. Last year is a valid reason to not like somebody. But if you're going to make an effort to get involved this season, do it more than just these easy layups that you think are landing, because they're not landing. Instead, it's like, Jesus, like, it's played out.
Yeah, do it more constructively. Do something where you're going to add something else to the list of things that you actually have an issue with Dorit, or get involved and just say, you know what, Kyle's had a really tough couple of years. I think that it would be better to give her a little bit of grace if Kyle had gotten to the point where she had apologized for any of it. And I think that what she's doing here is, yes, she's admitting that she ices people out, but she's not acknowledging the fact that it's not the same to ice somebody out as it is to ice them completely out and then also go on public platforms and say you were never friends with somebody. Like,
Correct.
that's just clearly not true. We've seen that. And that's very hurtful to Dorit, because Dorit's looking at it like, oh, we were friends. You know, this might be how you are. You ice people out, you have issues with them, and you don't want to talk to them, and you just completely excommunicate them. Fine, do that. And then you'll come back another 6 months later. But don't go on there and disparage our entire friendship and say, no, we were never friends in the first place. And I agree with everything that you said about Garcelle with her issues towards Dorit, but you're not doing anything. There is nothing that you're doing here. And I used to be a huge Garcelle fan. I can't point to you the last time that I looked at Garcelle and said, wow, that was a really good episode. That was a really good scene from Garcelle. She's not doing anything. She's not reading anybody up and down. She's not getting involved in any of the drama constructively. She's not adding to anything. She's just kind of there. Half the time she's out producing movies, which is fine. Go ahead and do that. But it adds nothing to the show that we're watching here. Everybody else is kind of stepping up. Even fucking Kathy's stepping up. She's hosting the first trip of the season. She's coming back in a bigger way. Garcelle is a mainstay on this cast, and she's not doing shit. And I don't need her to just step in just because she hates Dorit. You can hate Dorit all you want, but don't add to this because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't further anything. You're just getting Kyle's back. And of course she's going to look at you and be like, thanks, Garcelle, you have my back. What is that going to do for anybody else? Nothing. We're just going to look at you like, all right, we know you hate Dorit. This means nothing to us.
No, I agree. And it's gotten to the point, like you said, we were big Garcelle fans. This was like pro Garcelle podcast for a very long time.
Yeah.
Watching her navigate this season has been disappointing. Yeah. It's awesome what she's doing with her career. I think that's amazing. I don't think you can take anything away from all the moves that she's making. And it's cool to watch her do that once or twice. Now that you've been involved with the group for an extended period of time this season, we're on a trip, and you're really not mixing it up in any way, shape, or form other than to pick and choose moments to pick on Dorit. And again, we're not justifying that you needed to like her. I think she gave you enough reasons for you to be like, fuck Dorit. That's fine. But the two instances where you've decided to try to get involved, one was when she was talking to Bose at the end of the table in a conversation that had nothing to do with anyone else. And you took an issue with that because you, quote unquote, want to get to know Bose too. You're going to have your chance. That made no sense. And here, when the conversation seems to be winding down a little bit, these two are clearly at odds. They're not going to come to terms tonight. That's okay. But as it's settling down, you decide to jump in and go, that's what Dorit does. There's never a full apology. And then I'm thinking back into times that I've seen Dorit apologize, at least to Kyle. I'm like, look, she apologizes sometimes when she doesn't even really need to. I've seen Dorit apologize. Yes, there's sometimes it comes with a caveat, but there's other times that it doesn't. So I didn't really agree with that. That's not something that I've seen. The entire friendship that we've seen between Kyle and Dorit would not have continued for as long as it had if Dorit wasn't capable of apologizing, because Kyle demands it if Dorit steps out of line. And the thing that drives me crazier than anything, and we've seen it multiple times now in regards to this specific scenario, is something that Kyle does. And I think it's so grimy, and I think it's such dirty pool and like a shitty way to play the game because she's not getting along with Dorit, because Dorit has finally decided to put her foot in the ground, say, I'm not putting up with this shit anymore. Everybody that's watched this show has seen the relationship be one-sided year after year after year. This is nothing new to us. So we understand where Dorit is coming from. For Kyle to get to a confessional and say, this person across from me from the table right now, like I came in here looking for resolution and she came into tonight looking for a fight. I don't recognize that person across from me. I don't know who that is. It's like, you cannot do that. You can't keep saying that you don't recognize a certain person because you're seeing a different side of them. If you're frequently having to use the defense, you said it about Sutton last year. Clearly, there's a common denominator here that's setting people off and showing you a side of them that you didn't know they had because you're so used to people just being agreeable, bending the knee, nodding their head because they don't want to piss off Kyle Richards and step on her toes. So they just agree. Now you're getting people stand up for themselves because they're sick of it. The audience at home, we're sick of it. We are on Dorit's team because we've watched her get berated by you for years. We've watched you be a bad friend for years. She's standing up for herself. That's why it's somebody you don't recognize, because we're used to Dorit the pushover. This is not her. She's holding you to the fire. She's making you be accountable. You're struggling to do that because you don't know which way is up right now. You're so caught off guard. And we watched it happen with Sutton last year. Dorit is much more polished in her approach than Sutton was last year. That was a little messy, but the same defense was used. I don't recognize this person. I don't know who this is. There's a common denominator, Kyle. It's you. You're pushing people in your life to a certain level that you're then seeing a bad side of them that you haven't seen because they're no longer being your little puppet. And that's all it is. And I'm so glad we're getting to that point, but I'm so sick of that defense of, I don't recognize this person. That's such a shitty that you're trying to paint them as crazy when in reality, you just push them over the edge because you're a bad fucking friend.
Yeah, I mean, it just says more about the fact that she expects people to just fall in line with whatever her feelings are. And when they don't, she doesn't recognize them anymore. And then you ice them out. Like that, if that's your MO, that's your MO. Everybody's now calling you out on it. You have to look inward and say, why am I like this? Why me? What did I do? I don't know.
Who am I?
Who am I?
I don't know. But yeah, it's just frustrating. It's frustrating. It's nothing new. And I think that's the most frustrating part because the way that she's approaching it, it's like, where's this coming from? And all of us at home are like shaking our heads, right? What, are you fucking kidding me? But Dorit ends up leaving dinner early, which is probably for the best. And we get to the next morning. Everyone's kind of recapping. You get Sutton Garcelle recapping, which I will point out, like, in this moment, Garcelle is seemingly more neutral in just saying, like, yeah, everyone's kind of at odds. Like, they're going different ways. So that is something I would have appreciated before, just recognizing that there's a lot of shit going on. And again, what?
I mean, she's just narrating at that point.
I know at this point,
You're
yeah.
still not adding anything to anything. You're just sitting there recapping by narrating what happens. It's like, all right, yeah, you're from a neutral party, but you're not showing us what your opinion is. Just calling it out doesn't do anything for me.
No, I'm just saying it was nice to hear neutrality at least.
It would be better, yeah.
But you get Erika Jane with Dorit, and obviously Erika has her experience with a rough divorce and a rough separation. Watching Dorit go through this, she's a little bit nervous. Now, sidestep, real quick. Have you heard the rumors? Why people don't have time for Dorit in this stuff?
Why?
Allegedly, people are saying that the PK separation is just for the show. They're saying that the cast knows about it, and that's why they're a little bit short with Dorit and not as sympathetic.
I don't know.
Thoughts? I haven't seen enough evidence to corroborate that.
I've seen enough evidence for my opinion to be that it's not, that part's not true. I think that their marriage is, I would say that their marriage is the sham, not the separation. I mean, we've seen PK be completely disconnected. Yeah. I don't know. You know what? Let's do it this way. People that are coming up with those rumors aren't watching the show as intently as we are, because I haven't seen any evidence to the now. Yeah, the insurance thing, the break-in could have been a sham for sure, but
allegedly,
the fact that the whole thing is fake, I don't know. Maybe the action of the separation could be for the show, just to try to get her going. But I mean, their marriage sucks. We can agree on that, everybody.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, we've seen it. Like, and
Yeah.
she's now
They,
she's
they
being more.
should probably be separated. So
They should, and she's being more forthcoming. Like, it's been years of this. It's been a
yeah,
struggle. It's like, yeah, we've been watching it, but you painted it as, oh, my lovey bubbles, everything's great with my loveykins. So it's been confusing, but that to me and you was even more of a reason to be like, oh, something's wrong. Like, no one
yeah.
talks about their marriage like this when it's actually good. This seems like it's like when it's that couple that always post like a picture together on Instagram followed
with the
by like
long
a
ass
paragraph.
Yeah.
It's like, this person saved my heart and my soul. It's like, oh, you guys are gonna break up, or he cheated on you. Like something bad happened here. But
yeah, he's gonna be wearing a sign to the mall that says "I cheated, everybody mock me," which is even more embarrassing.
Oh my god. But everyone meets in the lobby, and we're going on a yacht today, I guess. And so there's not a lot of discussion. It's awkward. It's clearly awkward, kind of with everybody.
Yeah.
But
I will say the modes of transportation today were fantastic. Getting in those little cars were lovely. They were just like golf carts that were kind of tricked out to look like beach buggies. I was into those
cruisers,
little beach cruisers. Yeah, getting on over there. Not a lot of conversation going on there. Pretty much still, it's just narration. Everybody's just recapping. But
we get to learn that Kathy brushed her teeth with an eyeshadow brush, which is
sure
gross.
did. Yeah, I needed Kyle to come over to add some lipstick, and then I asked what shade it was. But whatever. It's Kathy. I'm not going to really read too far into that one.
No.
But no, yeah, the modes of transportation were sick. You take those over to a nice 90-foot yacht. I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely. And they get on the boat, and we see Theo. Sutton stricken by Theo. He's got the biceps, I guess.
Captain Theo. You put some respect on his name. Yeah, there you go.
You're right.
Yep,
Captain Theo. Sutton stricken by this man. She walks up and goes, oh, my Theo. He can park his ship in my harbor. I was like, Jesus, I thought you were on the ballet. I thought you weren't allowed to say things like that, Sutton.
Sutton Strachan. Am I right?
Strachan?
Yeah, she's Strachan by whatever.
Oh, she's
Strachan.
I love that, actually. Took me a second, but yeah. No, I will co-sign that. That was
all right, good. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're getting the spread ready. We got some skewers going up. Kathy's helping out with the cooking process, which thank goodness, or we wouldn't probably have been able to get through dinner service. But I just think it's interesting. And I don't know, I could be reading too far into it because like my Kyle radar is like off the charts right now. But this is kind of referring to how she talks about everybody. I think it's always the little one-liners about Kathy, like she's walking away from the grill, like, oh my god, it's so embarrassing. And then she goes on a confessional about why Kathy's always embarrassing. And like, we know Kathy's quirky and we know that she does weird shit. I just feel like Kyle always talks down about her every time she talks about her. And then she goes to that Gilligan's Island quote and she's like, oh, I'm gonna be trapped with these women forever. Could you imagine? It's like, oh, what are you on the show for then? If you hate everybody so much, like
you
it's
hate
just
everybody,
always negative,
and you hate your sister, who you've had so many problems with in the past. And look, I think both of us agree. Kathy does not watch the show when the show stops wrapping, so she's not going to see any of those confessionals. She might have somebody send them over, and she can go through them and kind of just search through. But yeah, she's not watching any of those. I just don't understand where Kyle gets off for any of this, especially with what she's going through. Like, yes, there are the people that go through these types of things that aren't going to seek out help because they feel uncomfortable. Kyle doesn't strike me like that. She's like, she needs help. She needs somebody to lean on with all the shit going on in her life. And she's not seeking it, doesn't want it. And if somebody suggests it, she writes them off immediately and then insults them in her confessional. So it's like, what are you doing here?
Who are you attribute to the fact that she she's going through it. We're not taking away from that, like the fact that her friend did pass away and commit suicide. Like, I forgot about that too. That's got to rattle you. That's the hard part of this season that I think we have acknowledged multiple times is like, on the one hand, when you're talking about Kyle and what she's been going through and what she's trying to deal with, there's a very captivating, real, sad story there. She's trying to figure out her own sexuality amidst a potential divorce with a man she's been with for 20 years. All of her kids are leaving the house. She's trying to figure out where she fits into this new life. I can sympathize with all of that. That's difficult. That's tough. I don't wish that on anybody. Like, she's trying to navigate a lot of crazy shit. And put on top of that, one of her closest friends is no longer here. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of shit. I am sympathetic when I hear that. It's like, man, you're going through it. But on the flip side, it's tough to be that sympathetic because it's like, well, but you're treating everyone around you like shit. And you can blame that on the fact that you're going through a whole lot. But at the same time, it's not a free pass to be an asshole.
Right.
And this has been recurring behavior. And like when she brought it up at dinner to Dorit, I'm like, whoa. Yes, your friend did pass away. Yes, that's really hard and traumatic. But if we're going to play the game of I'm going through a lot, look across the table. Dorit's going through it too. So I didn't think that was a great defense. And I don't think it's a good defense to continually do the same behavior year in and year out and then lean on I'm going through a lot.
Yeah.
It's like those can be separate things. That's how we're approaching it, because we do watch those scenes where it's like sad for Kyle. And we're like, that's really sad, Kyle. We feel for you. And on the flip side, we see these scenes like, you're a fucking asshole. So it's this weird, like,
it doesn't
dichotomy.
captivate the audience at all either. So and that's why there's such a huge outlash towards, or a backlash rather, towards Kyle, because while we all do feel the same way, there's a huge group of people that have been watching the show forever that always claimed like, we never got anything out of Kyle. She doesn't share anything from her life. And now something's going on and you're like, oh my God, she's going to share everything about her life. And she still doesn't. And then she comes in and she still expects sympathy. It's like, well, what do you want from us, lady? You completely wrote us off. You wrote off all of your friends. You wrote off everybody on the show and just told them to stay out of it and just try to keep to yourself. But like, you're on a reality TV show. You need to share something. And then you come back and you're like, well, I don't care what anybody thinks. We would get behind you if you would share. If you would just share the things going on and showed us how sad certain aspects of your life were, we would probably rally behind you and be like, you know what? She's having a really rough time. Let's just sit back and watch this because Dorit and her are friends and I want to see how they feel. And yeah, we can still take sides in that aspect, but we're not going to be so anti-Kyle if she were to share things about her life, because we would have things to hold on to and say. So she can't have it both ways, where she doesn't expect people to like not dislike her while she's sitting over there insulting everybody. It just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, it's a tough way to watch this season, honestly. Yeah. Because you want to feel bad for her, but then she's just such a dick to people. It's like, I really don't, but I want to, because you are going through it. We can acknowledge that you are in fact going through a major life change, but that's not an excuse to be an asshole for 2+ years. And it's been longer than that at this point. Mm-hmm. But we get to lunch and Kyle and Dorit is brought up immediately by Sutton. And, you know, Dorit's feeling better. She's like, I just need to get these things off my chest. I'm hurt. I'm angry, but I love you. Kyle says, I appreciate that. Kyle acknowledges we're both going through some really real shit and it's very similar and this is stupid, and that the irony of everything, according to Dorit, is that Mo and PK are closer now than they've ever been. And these two are more at odds than they've ever been, which that is dumb. The ladies should stick together. Like the fact that PK and Mo are out there like giggling and skipping around Beverly Hills, probably to all the bars, that's annoying to me, that those two are off scot-free and these two are dealing with all the fallout. I don't like that. But there's apologies. I don't know how real they are. I believe that Dorit wants to make it right. I believe that she misses her friendship with Kyle. As far as Kyle's apology, I don't know. I'm on Dorit's side, I guess. I'm cautiously optimistic, but at the same time, I don't see this going well. I see this falling apart again at some point, but we'll see. But you get a little split scene between Kyle and Garcelle and Sutton and Dorit. On the Sutton-Dorit side, it's just Sutton saying, look, I know that you're going through a lot. I've been here with my ex. I will be here to support you. I got your back, which is nice to see because these two haven't gotten along for a very long time.
Yeah.
So for the time being,
yep,
to see them come together was kind of nice. Dorit acknowledges it.
It is also really nice too, because you can put this scene side by side with a scene that we watched in the first episode where Sutton and Kyle sat down at lunch and Sutton said the same thing. Mm-hmm. You want to be aware of what's going on, because when money gets involved, and she's talking from a point of reference of, I've been through it. Like, you're going to go through hell and I'm here for you because I've also gone through it and I can help you out. And what did Kyle do?
I make $350,000 a month in alimony.
Yeah, seriously. And Kyle sat there and denied everything and basically didn't take Sutton's hand and say, look, I appreciate you being here for me at all. And you see Sutton and Dorit, who were sitting down, who we've seen at odds since 2019, where they were just yelling at each other. Like, we could immediately say they're not friends. They have nothing in common. They probably annoy the shit out of each other. So they just stay away from each other, which, by the way, Garcelle, that's what you should do with Dorit. If you're done with Dorit, just stay away from Dorit. That's all you have to do. Don't get involved and just to call her out on
the
stupid
random
shit.
drop-ins make no sense.
It's just not going to work for me. But seeing that compared to what we watched in the first episode was nice, because even the two who are not friends, who have nothing in common, who have never had any common grounds, Dorit was very appreciative of that. You could see it in her eyes. You could see it on her face. She did not expect Sutton to sit down and do that. Sutton can be the bigger person and say, I know that we've been at odds, but I'm here for you either way. And I do want to be a good friend to you. That's really nice to see. And I think that Dorit actually appreciated that in the midst of everything else that's going on.
Yeah, again, for now.
For now. Yeah.
On the flip side, you get Kyle and Garcelle, and this is, again, a little bit of neutrality from Garcelle, which I appreciated. And maybe this is how she really feels about it, but when she's near Dorit, she just can't help herself. Like, maybe we can chalk it up to that. I don't know. But she's just saying, look, glad you guys are working it out. We're all going through a lot of things. And that is an interesting thing to point out at this phase in all of these ladies' lives. There's a lot of shit happening. There's a lot of transitional periods. There's been a lot of divorces and relationships falling through over the past 2 years. Like, when she highlighted that part, I'm like, wow, when you really break it down, every single one of these women have had a life-altering moment within the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is pretty nuts. So you would think that they rallied behind each other, but Garcelle gets into her stuff where she's having a hard time figuring out what's next. Again, it's kind of par for the course of the whole group. But the only thing that I really took away from this, because obviously Kyle echoes that, like, yeah, you know, Mo's gone, blah, 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 all the stuff we talked about. It's baffling to me that PK reaches out to Kyle, not reached out, not texted to check on me, reaches present tense, implying they have ongoing conversations.
Yeah,
that's inappropriate. No,
ongoing conversations. While keep in mind, PK has stopped talking to Dorit after that conversation that they had at dinner the one night, saying that they talk too much. Now they're not talking at all.
But now he's checking in on Kyle to make sure she's okay.
And guess who didn't ask a fucking follow-up question saying, what is he saying? Who could have gotten involved the first time the entire season and pretty much all of last season? Who could have actually had a conversation with Kyle where we got to know something? Garcelle. She just goes to her confessional and laughs it off and says, well, that's fucking crazy. It is. You know what would be crazier? If we found out what he was talking about. Who could have found that out? The fucking person sitting there in the goddamn scene. This is what I got so mad about Garcelle in this, because she's done nothing for me in 2 years. And now you have an opportunity on a fucking silver platter and you're like, oh, this is crazy. Let's go back inside. We'll eat a little bit. Like, no, fucking open up. Ask her about it, dude. Stupid.
I was floored. And especially highlighting, like you said, the fact that this man has decided to not talk to his wife, whom he separated from, but wants to check in on her friend and the ex of his best friend.
Weird.
There's so much wrong with that. It's creepy. It's, you know what he's doing. Like, as dudes, we know exactly what he's doing. And it's not on the up and up. Let me just say that. It's almost like looking for an opening. I don't like it.
Could be that, or could also be helping PK or helping Mo and seeing how Kyle is through that to report back to Mo what's going on there, because they're such boys. The whole thing just stinks. I didn't like it at all, but we don't know anything about it because Kyle didn't offer any information and Garcelle didn't dig, which it just pisses me off even more that we found out about it that way.
I hope that we get more out of that, because I thought it was crazy. I think it's wildly inappropriate. I think that's such a shit move from PK. And I think if I was Dorit and I heard that, I'd be like, oh, we're done. You have time for her, but you don't have time for me. Like, go fuck yourself.
We can play a fun game and we can imagine that Garcelle's good at her job. She could hold on to that nugget, wait for Kyle and Dorit to blow up again, and then drop that in there to stir shit up even more. But that would burn her allegiance to Kyle, because then Kyle was talking about it. And that's one of those things that Kyle could icy out for 6 months for. But if Garcelle truly didn't give a shit about that and cared about her job and giving us good drama on this show, you would do that the next time that they fight. I'm not holding out hope for that at all. That's the only way that this would play for me, that I'd actually look and say, good job, Garcelle. You finally did something.
Yeah, I would enjoy that as well. I don't, but she could do that in a way that it actually supports Kyle. If she drops it at the right time against Dorit, like, oh yeah, well, then why is your man texting Kyle? And then Dorit goes in a spiral.
Yeah.
So there's different ways to play it. I'm curious if we'll ever get it. Yeah, but we get to talk about Bose's man, Keely. Just a quick one-off there. She's with this new guy. She was with a dude before who apparently was a liar. We don't get much more on that. We get more on Jennifer Tilly's ex, who used to make her hand him her credit card under the table so that his ego wouldn't hurt when she paid for dinner, which is embarrassing as shit. And I don't know why she put up with that. Glad she's not with that dude anymore. I'm a big time Jennifer Tilly stan.
Oh,
this is a pro Tilly podcast.
I love how like genuinely confused she is at things going on. Like even the dinner the night before, she's like, "Can we just stop all this so I can eat my fucking taco, please?"
Yeah,
I just want to sit here. Like, I don't know if I'm allowed to eat. What's going on? The producer keeps looking at me, telling me not to eat. What am I doing?
I don't know what to do with my hands,
guys. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Oh man! But as they get off the boat, Dorit gives Theo Sutton's number. Theo carries her off the boat. Every time these kinds of things happen, I always because the question's always, "Are you married?" We don't get a response from him. In my head, I'm always like, I wonder if he's dating somebody or with somebody, and they're gonna watch this and be like, "Whoa, you didn't say no. What the fuck? Why are you taking her number?"
Bad at it. Claim a bad at it. Just take a Facebook post out.
Always claim bad at it. That works every time. That's everyone's go-to. But while everyone's getting ready for dinner, Sutton is writing a speech, a very long speech in a notebook. Which means that she took her speech from her notebook, transcribed it into her notes on her phone to read it again. Or, this might make more sense as to why it took her a while to read it. Do you think she just took a picture of it and was trying to decipher it through the phone?
Yeah, because you would imagine if you write it down and then type it in, you would remember what it said. And she did not remember what it said at all.
I like to think that she took a picture of her journal.
Yeah.
That's funnier. But we get to dinner. We have a little nudies conversation. Who's sending nudies to their man? Kathy, what about you? She keeps hers locked up nice and tight in a vault in a bank, which everyone else was like blown away by that. I was not. I was like, of course she does. That tracks 100%.
She has a lockbox for sure.
Yeah, that makes complete sense to me. We even get a description of it. It's at like the Caesar's Palace in Vegas with like the mirrors on, like those sex beds with the mirrors on the ceiling. Yeah, great, awesome, and it's lock and key. Deep in Gringotts where you can't find it. So
past the dragon.
You got to go past the dragon, like jump the mine cart, and then you get to Kathy's vault where her one nudie that she gave Rick is there. And then it's buried.
Do you think Gringotts is here?
The fact that you haven't done any Harry Potter shit yet is actually kind of bumming me out.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing touristy shit this weekend. So
I'll do some Harry, go to Diagon Alley or something. There's got to be there.
Diagon Alley.
Diagon Alley.
Yeah, no,
I just did a rewatch with Pop. Those movies hold up. They're so like a nostalgia kick right in the nuts in a good way.
In a good way. Yeah. The best kick in the nuts you ever get.
Yeah. That just threw me off. I don't know where we are now. I'm thinking about Harry Potter kicking me in the nuts. But again, just kind of a weird moment. Garcelle brings up a post on I don't even know what platform, but I guess Teddy,
Instagram.
I would imagine Teddy tagged multiple ladies that had gotten up on stage at a John Cougar Mellencamp concert, and Teddy posted it because I guess John Cougar's got a show coming up and tagged a bunch of people in it. Dorit was one of the people singing on stage, so Dorit decided to repost this. Garcelle questions her, saying, "You said yesterday that you weren't friends. Time out." And even I was like, ooh, that's true.
Yeah.
First, I mean, my initial reaction is like, it's just a repost and she was tagged and it's not that deep.
Right.
But then I'm like, okay, but then we roll the tape. And what she said was, I wouldn't call us close, but we are friends.
Yeah. Very descriptive.
So everything that makes total sense, but this is used to like disparage her word and say, see, she's a liar. This is why you can't trust her, Kyle. And then you get Erika and Kyle under their breath. Like Erika's like, I don't think that's what she said. And Kyle's like, roll the tape. That's exactly what she said. Verbatim. I said, we're not that close, but we are friends. So if you're friendly with somebody and they tag you on stage at a John Mellencamp concert singing and you repost it, there's nothing wrong with that. Where Dorit fell off here was by saying I did that to promote John's concert. It's like he doesn't need your promotion. He's doing fine. As Kyle points out, he's an Emmy-winning or Grammy-winning artist. He's doing okay. But I thought she was fine until saying I was doing it to promote. Yeah. You backed yourself up. You said the day before, we're friends. We're just not that close. That was it.
And she doubled down on that by saying the exact same thing, which if you know that's what you said, just leave it at that. You don't have to explain any further. And once you start doing that, and this is Dorit 101, this is the first time that we're seeing her once again. And oddly enough, Sutton does this all the time, where you just keep going and you start to lose your train of thought. Dorit will do it in the way that she keeps explaining to the point that she's now in trouble. So you were fine. You could have just doubled down on what you said the night before, knowing what you had said, and left it at that, and maybe rolled your eyes. Like, all right, Garcelle, what?
But the problem is the whole group questions her, like the validity, because they don't remember what she said.
Yeah, because honestly, half the group is probably checked out at that point. They just wanted to eat their tacos and move on with their lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. But let's get to Sutton's speech, which it takes a little while, right? It's not very smooth, but she's trying to deliver a message similar to last year with Merce when she spread the ashes all over her friends, and about letting things go, because that seems to be a sticking point with this group. We get stuck on things, we come back to it. We just need to let things go. Everyone's joking around and belittling the speech, which again, is that rude? Yes. You fumbled through the intro and paused and stopped, and that left room for jokes to be made. And you're also doing a speech. Like, it's not a kumbaya moment where we've come together again and it's time for a speech. Like, the group's still at odds. There's still a lot of weird shit going on. So it felt like it the wrong time, perhaps. But she gives like a sisterhood speech, and they put their hands in the middle. They tie a ribbon on it. She's like, "We are now truly sisters forever." It's like, this again. There was a better moment to do this, probably, because this just seems like foreshadowing to me at this point that everything's going to fall apart.
Doing it in the first cast trip of the season too is always stupid.
It's a bold move.
Going to happen. Yeah, just you do it at the last cast trip of the season. That's when it works. Or do it at the reunion and then take a shot.
That would work as well. It seemed like a preemptive kumbaya speech. I don't think it landed, but I didn't realize it was foreshadowing for Dorit and Sutton. That was surprising to me. I thought this was like, oh, something's going to fall apart tomorrow without a doubt. But we get to the Sprinter van the next day, and Sutton's there. She pours herself a drink. So I'm immediately like, something tells me this scene's going to go south.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you got a screwdriver in the morning on a Sprinter van back to LA from wherever you've been on vacation, so you're already marinating from the night before, you throw a little booze on there in the morning, it's a powder keg. This is a dangerous cocktail to have in the morning. But she brings up the ritual, points out that everyone kind of mocked her, which they did, but she's talking about having disagreements but still being open and honest amongst the group, calls out Erika and Kyle for their shenanigans on the side, like the shit talking, which again is okay. But the delivery was a little janky, and then everything kind of falls apart because Dorit gets involved, because she triples down now on, I said friends, I said we were not close. And then it turns into a free-for-all where it's like, it's not about that. And now Sutton, who was trying to defend Dorit, is now yelling at Dorit. Dorit responds in turn by yelling at Sutton. Everything breaks down. It goes to a cut of Garcelle going, "That's not what we're talking about. It's not you. I don't know what we're talking about at this point. I'm not entirely sure. I thought this was about calling out Kyle and Erika.
It was."
And now it's turned into Dorit defending herself, yelling at Sutton. Sutton's pissed at Dorit, and nothing is resolved. Instead, this newfound friendship seems to fall apart the next day.
Yeah, it falls apart that quickly. And I just thought it was so funny because immediately Dorit has had it. Dorit has been on, and we can just say, look, I mean, you can't be in the zone for that long. You can't be, Dorit for 4 or 5 seasons, whenever the last time that everybody claims that Dorit was good, which was like, what, season 9. We've got 5 seasons of Dorit not being good. And now we've got 3 straight episodes of her being very good and coming after Kyle in a good way, in a non-Dorit way. She is out of the zone now. She is tired. She doesn't know what's going on anymore. She doesn't know which way is up. She's friends with Sutton now. What the fuck is going on? And of course, she misidentifies what's going on. Sutton had your back. Sutton was thinking, hey, we're friends now. I saw this shitty stuff happen over here. Let's call these two out and start talking about that, because they have a different idea of what you said. and I want to point it out to the group because you can't have these little whisper conversations while we're all sitting here. I love that Dorit just misidentifies her anger immediately, going right back at Sutton because, it's reflex at that point. You're mad at Sutton usually. Usually she puts her foot in her mouth. Usually you have to go after her. She had your back. She was trying to help you in saying, look at these two over here who you might think are your friends and you're better with Kyle now. She's still talking under her breath behind you. So no, nothing's resolved. You need to keep going after her. You need to keep your foot on the throat, so to speak. And she's not. She immediately turns at Sutton and redirects her anger, which, by the way, winner, Kyle. Because now she's not going to have to worry about Dorit coming after her, at least for an episode or two, because she's going to be focused on Sutton, who was trying to help her. So everything just devolves immediately. All that good work that we did in the first 3 episodes, out the window.
Yeah, for now. But I also think, the delivery from Sutton was shoddy at best.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
but it's
she was quick to anger as well, like by yelling at Dorit immediately, or not yelling, but raising her voice. Like the tone.
Yeah. Well, once the ma'am breaks out, she breaks out the ma'ams.
Once you're ma'am, the game's over.
Yep.
But like you said, the real winner is Kyle, because now she can point at Dorit and say, like, see, this is what I have to deal with. She wants to point the finger at me. Now Sutton's going to potentially turn on Dorit after they just found this friendship. I think you chalk it up to it was probably a long night. There's vodka in the morning, which is never a great idea from experience.
It depends on who you're talking to.
It was fun for a while.
Yeah, it was fun for a while.
It got really sad. My God, nothing wakes you up than a water bottle full of hot Florida vodka under your driver's seat.
I love that we reference that specific bottle all the time.
Oh God, that's a bottle that was reused probably 100 times, just refilling it. Oh, how depressing.
Oh boy.
But look, the most important thing for us at home is this. It's a good season. This is a good season so far. Not everyone on the cast is bringing it, which is okay. You're not gonna. We've gotten used to that.
Yeah,
I think over this past 4-month span of just shows hitting on all cylinders, so this is good enough. There's enough drama. People are coming to work. They're showing up. So I appreciate what's going on. I see, like we always talk about, there are some pitfalls that could drag it down a little bit, but all in all, consistent season, enjoyable season. I like where the ladies of Beverly Hills are at.
I'm good with it.
But let's get to some questions.
First up here from Kelly2422. I feel like Crystal would have been great this season. I think, I
think she would have fit in well this year, actually. I do.
Yeah, I think she would have been okay. I think that she had her feet under her. I'm not going to say that I'm upset that she's not here. I think that she would have been okay on this cast, though. But I do think that Bose is going to bring more early on than what Crystal brought early on a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I agree. But I think she would have fit in with this group. I think she would have done fine.
Speaking of Bose, hi, my name is Sandy. Said, do you think Dorit is influencing Bose in her favor? Kind of, but I do think that Bose isn't going to fall for that shit. I think that she is doing a good job right now of being herself, introducing the fans to her and what she does and what she's bringing to the table. I don't think that she's one, based off of what we've seen in 3 episodes, to just fall for that shit, especially from Dorit.
Yeah, I agree. From Maya Sanderson, Garcelle has every right to hate Dorit. Why are we all suddenly forgiving microaggressions? We're not. I think we made that clear throughout the episode. She has every right to not like her. She doesn't need to get along with her. It just, if any of this was pointed at Garcelle, by all means, jump in and tear her apart. It's just, she's seemingly inserting herself in random moments where it's not even like Kyle, teed it up for her to go in. It's like, where's this coming from? Like the John Mellencamp thing. It's like, well, if we really break this down, it's not disparaging to what Dorit had said, because this is in line with what she said. We're friends. We're just not that close. So a repost makes a lot of sense to me. It's just the timing of it doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's just misguided, I think. It has nothing to do with, she doesn't have to like her. We get it. No. That makes sense. Totally. Don't like it. Fine. And pick and choose your moments better.
Yeah, pick and choose your moments better. And right now, we're more frustrated that Garcelle is now, she only has one phase to her game, and that is to go against whatever Dorit's saying at all times. That's it. That's really all that Garcelle's doing right now. if you look at any housewife on any franchise, we're going to pick that apart all the time because it frustrates us when you can only do one thing. And if you're not doing it that well and you're not adding to the rest of the show, then we're going to get frustrated with you. So
that's our biggest gripe. Yeah, it's not even about Dorit. It's about the lack of substance elsewhere.
Yeah, perfect.
I don't know if this is like sarcastic from Bravo Gen 99. Does Dorit need to see a therapist for her anger because she's fed up and finally speaking her mind? No, I think she's well within her right to be as pissed off as she is. I stand with Dorit and her anger. She's allowed to do this. Like, she's been biting her tongue for years. Let it go. Let Kyle know. So no, I don't think what we're seeing is like rage. You're seeing a pissed off woman. Yeah,
we've seen way worse on other franchises that would actually warrant a, hey, do they need to see a therapist? Probably, but
not this.
Not right now.
No, we applaud her for finally speaking her mind.
Yeah.
Do 2 more. From Monica Tornetta, did Captain call Sutton? What do you think? I think we can ask her and let you know.
Yeah, we can find out.
We'll holler at her and see.
Yeah.
And the last one, this is fun to speculate on. From Miranda E412, whose closet do you think holds the most value? My vote is Sutton's. That was her vote, not mine.
Sutton's. Wow, Dorit got a lot stolen from her. Probably
has a lot of stuff with the brand name on it, so that doesn't, to me, point to the most lucrative closet.
Yeah, we don't really know enough about Bose's wardrobe as of
I would
right
say
now.
Jennifer Tilly, based on those wacky purses.
Yeah, let's go Tilly.
I think she's the sleeper pick here, where you'd walk in her closet and be like, "Holy shit!" Like,
I am good with that.
Yeah, but all in all, like I said, great episode, great season. We're enjoying ourselves to the point that we had to take time out of Shooter's vacation and my mental vacation from Shooter to bring you a little episode. We're international bros right now.
We certainly are, and we are having a great time.
LLC.
Hell yeah. Bros and shows and nations.
Bros and show nation.
Yeah. Bro Show Nation.
We're implementing the name change next year, by the way. So we'll see what we officially land on. That's pretty close.
We're just gonna keep trying over the next couple of weeks, and
you're gonna have to
find something.
You're gonna have to grin and bear it for the next 3 weeks, and then we'll land on something, and you have to like it because you love us. Look what we do for you guys because we love you.
Yeah.
Okay. Just be cool, man.
I will. I'll report back doing some sightseeing, so I'll go find little Ben, and I'll
go find little Ben, and then do one Harry Potter thing for me and take a picture, even if you walk by something and take a picture.
I'll find something.
All right, good. All right, Harry.
That's
fancy a
Australian.
Tickle. No, it's not. That's.
I've heard enough of it this week. It's Australian.
Shall I do my cocaine?
There you go. That's better.
Finish off with a little Cockney accent. Bosh. Bro's out of here.